All stories, unless stated, do not belong to me and were sent in. If you'd like to send in your own story, hit me up on my Instagram social media, as well as my Tumblr and even my Twitter. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell if you'd like to get more content such as this, and if you'd like to support the channel as well as myself, go and check out my Redbubble that has all of my fan art as well as multiple things that I've created that you can buy: t-shirts, mugs, scarves, anything you can think of to help support the channel. Thank you. You know, as of recent years, I've heard a lot of people talking about Fujoshi and how they're this and that. And while it usually just means a female who likes yaoi, there's also the other terms for it that became more prevalent in the early 2000s as somebody who was a yaoi fangirl and who treated people of the LGBT community, specifically the guys, less like people and more like, well, stuff to get off to. And while I like to go with the original definition simply because that is the definition, this story goes with the term that was described in the early 2000s. A rabid yaoi fangirl. This is Rock-chan. This time was my sophomore year of college. The place, the hotel hosting an anime convention located an hour away from my home. Our friends invited us and even offered to let us crash at their hotel if we were too drunk, tired, whatever, to make the drive back when we left. So, my boyfriend, Jay, and I had just started dating officially only a few days prior to us getting this invite. He had never dated anyone else before, let alone another guy, and was sort of nervous. So we thought that this would be a fun way to get past that, and since we both liked the vidya and anime. Anyway, fast forward to the con, we saw some panels, got some cool stuff from the dealer's room, and took photos of awesome cosplays. I had had a hilarious conversation with a Vampire Hunter D cosplayer because I apparently looked like the guy from Twilight. Anyway, we get lunch at Wendy's when It shows up. It is a person masquerading as a human female who decided that we should call her Rock-chan. She was enormous, self-proclaimed kawaii badass wearing vinyl cat ears and your standard Hot Topic goth gear that was several sizes too small for her frame. Underneath her Death Note shirt, her unbound boobs jiggled and warmed the characters' faces so badly I actually felt sorry for them. She claimed her bondage pants were real J-Rock clothes from Japan. Her hair was listless, dull brown that settled in this bizarre half-matted cloud around her face. She had tried to dye it some color of blue, and it was running down the ways of her neck. In her profile you couldn't really see her nose or her lips because her cheeks were truly that full. Although, to her cheeks' credit, her nose was one of those little small noses that would have been cute if it wasn't offset by the beady dark eyes and lips that were both oddly thin and saggy. Her lower lip was pierced through with a safety pin and infected as shit. She proudly told me it was on the same side as Miyav's, and she did it herself. Worst of all, she had this bizarre patch of hair growing on one of her cheeks that looked like a miniature goatee that someone slapped crooked. Rock-chan was just a beast, apparently, of an old high school friend of one of my friends who had grown out of this terrible phase. She still asked us if we would be nice to her, even if she could be a bit socially awkward. Socially awkward doesn't begin to describe it. Of course, she spoke in pidgin Japanese and ended everything with a ne or an aru, but that wasn't the worst of it. She did all the bizarre anime mannerisms like walking with her hands behind her head, running with her arms out, twitching and falling down for no reason. She would also hold her hands up in a sign for I love you like they do in Ranma Half. She would also verbalize mannerisms. For instance, she might say something of the lines of, I should have brought more monies for Pocky, sweat drop. Feeling enough secondhand embarrassment yet? It gets worse. She went on long-winded rants about how the manga style differed from the anime style in various series that she kept up with. She also ranted at length about characters from various anime and games that she wished were real so she could either kill or screw them. She decided each in great detail. When she wasn't doing either of these things, she was giving us a play-by-play of her favorite fanfics, her exploits in trolling people on Gaia Online, or meowing like a cat. Of course, she was a rabid yaoi fan as well, and went on and on analyzing every little thing about the pairing she shipped in order to defend them as canon. When she found out that I and Jay were dating, she nearly creamed herself. Instantly, she designated me as a seme and Jay as a yuke, before classifying us with further stereotypes based on some lame internet quiz she knew about. Apparently, she wanted to be our BFFs with Jay because she liked innocent yukes. She asked us really personal questions about our sex life, or lack thereof at the moment, and announced that she was going to write a hentai fic about us for LiveJournal. She wanted writing and would read excerpts of it to us at random intervals. All of this was in full volume, of course. This was all making Jay incredibly uncomfortable, and he even told her so. She laughed it off, though. He was barely getting used to the idea of even thinking of doing anything beyond making out with me, and here was this person reading porn that involved the two of us in pseudo-rape scenarios at the top of our lungs. She called dicks loved ones, too. I would have been more pissed if it wasn't so funny. Then the rape joke started. "You'd make the perfect uke slave, Jay. You're so cute, Jay, I bet you'd look even cuter if I tied you up and made you cry. I bet you'd go full-on ruthless seme on me if I tried to steal Jay and keep him in my basement, huh, Anon?" Her dropping hints that she loved yaoi and had a voyeurism fetish was creepy enough. Now she was joking about raping Jay so much that it seemed like she really wished it was reality. I finally snapped at her, told her to screw off, but Rock-chan just giggled and said something about me being overprotective before making the joke that she'd be a better owner. Jay and I took our friends aside and said that Rock-chan was giving us the jeebies. By now it was pretty late and we were considering going home. Our friends assured us that she was not going to stay in our hotel room under any circumstances, so it'd be okay for us to crash. We ended up going to the room of some other people we had met during the day to drink and watch some live-action Dragon Ball Z movie and some Adult Swim stuff. Rock-chan was bearable because Adamu distracted her and we had alcohol, which we all got a lecture from her for drinking. In hindsight, I probably should have watched Jay a little better. He was not super short or anything, but he was skinny, and as a result a lightweight. Couple that with the fact that he wasn't used to drinking at all, and all the drinks they were mixing tasted really sweet and mild, were really strong, and he was quickly drunk. By the time I realized all the aforementioned factors that wouldn't have bothered me before took big issue with him, it was too late. Given Jay's semi-prone state and the development of Rock-chan's most recent quirk, I thought it'd be a good idea for the two of us to get the hell out of Dodge. It was around 2 a.m. by this time anyway. I asked the designated key holder of our group for one of our room keys and commenced the half-carry, half-lead Jay back to our room. The whole time, he was apologizing like crazy because he hadn't realized how strong the drinks were until he stood up to pee. I told him it was alright, admitted that I was just glad to be away from Rock-chan and her flappy, braless tits. I was starting to feel cheerful for the first time that night because Jay was currently under my arm and it was nice to be somewhere quiet and more or less empty. I was in the process of assuring Jay that I would help him find his pajamas when he said those fatal words. "I think I'm gonna be sick." By this time, we had reached our floor, but our room was at the other side of the hall. I told him I thought I remembered a vending machine nearby, and I would get him something to drink to help his gag reflex. He didn't want to walk anymore since it was making his head swim worse, and insisted that he would be just fine if he sat in the hallway and waited for me. I eased him down, jogged off because I didn't want to leave him alone for too long, or for all at that matter. I rounded the corner and continued down the hallway for about 20 to 30 feet before my dumb, half-drunk ass remembered I had a half bottle of soda in my messenger bag from earlier. I swear I was only gone for 30 seconds. I made it back and somehow Rock-chan had found where we were, despite her not leaving the room with us. She had Jay on his back on the floor in the middle of the hallway and was straddling his waist. He was kicking his legs uselessly. I swear I was gone for all of 30 seconds. I make it back and somehow Rockchan had found where we were, and despite her not leaving with us, she had Jay on his back on the floor in the middle of the hallway, straddling his waist. He was kicking his legs uselessly and trying to push her off, but as I mentioned before, he was skinny, and since she weighs about as much as a small minivan, his attempts proved to be unsuccessful. Later, we noticed that there was a bite mark on his neck, detailed enough to get her fucking dental records from, but he didn't remember being bitten. I start towards her like the Thomas the Tank Engine on roids and barely have the words, "What the F are you?" out of my mouth before Jay utters something that's unintelligible before vomiting all over her and her anime shirt. It was a hard day for the cast of Death Note indeed. It wasn't like normal vomiting either. It came rocketing out his mouth and hit her like the fist of an angry god. Her reaction was immediate. She jumps off him faster than I've ever seen someone her size move, freaks out, and flees the scene. Jay rolls over, throws up a little more, then looks at me with puke in his hair, offers me a rueful smile, and says, "I think I feel better now." It was the best fucking unofficial first date ever.
Thank you all for watching. You can go and check out the rest of my channel, click for more videos, or check me out on Instagram where I'm a heck of a lot more active, or even send me your own stories via Tumblr. Thank you guys for watching, as I said before, and I'll see you later. Bye!